the question I had for you, and you spoke some thought here, I couldn't agree more. You nailed it. I did think Pero was missing some fire. There was a lack of urgency. I just left me wanting more. And what it made me think of, and I wanted to ask and throw at you, we talked about the Cubans. We know the great history of the fighters, the great world champions, the amateur pedigree we've touched on. There's some legendary heavyweight amateur fighters that never made it over, never defected, never became pros. That's Teofilo Stevenson. That's the great Felix Savon. But in the pros, and this might shock some people out there has never been a heavyweight champion from Cuba in the professional boxing ranks. That shocks me. And when I watch this guy, it makes me think of guys of the past. It makes me think of a Jorge Luis Gonzalez, who challenged Riddick Bowe for the heavyweight title in 1995. 6'7", big, had a lot of tools, but he came over here and it didn't pan out. He didn't make it. He never lived up to it. It happened again with Oldemir Solis, 2004 Olympic gold medalist. Lost to Klitschko, had his chance, but again, he never had that fire. He had a softer body. He was missing something. And I could be off here, and we'll see. Pero might turn into a heavyweight champion. But there were some similarities there. And I guess I want to ask you your thoughts on that. Why do we have so many great Cuban champions in the lower weight classes, right? I mean, currently we got Lara, and we've had Gamboa and Rigondeaux, and we could go on and on. What's up with the big boys from Cuba? Where's the disconnect?
That's an interesting question. And I'm sure that my good friend Pedro Martinez Fraga will be very interested in you having asked that. He's a big fan of this. He's a great lawyer. He's a great friend, and he's a great fan of this. Great fan of yours, by the way. But he's a great fan of this show, and he will be. I think he'll be perked up to hear maybe the comments about this question you just brought up. I'm going to go right to Jorge Luis Gonzalez because you brought him up. And you painted the picture. I'm going to add a little color to it. Jorge Luis Gonzalez, yes, as my son said, he was 6'7". He was like a legendary amateur fighter in Cuba. He was beating everybody. In the Pan Am Games, he beat Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe. You don't have to hear more than that. You beat those guys. You're beating two future world champions, and you're beating those level of fighters. You would think you got a good shot to win the world title. He came over here. My friend Louis de Cubas, he handles all the Cubans for the most part, and now his son has been involved too. For the last good amount of years. And working also with Al Heyman and stuff, doing a good job. But Louis the man. Louis de Cubas, he's the man. You just don't want him doing your interpreting because he's going to interpret it for Louis, not so much for the fight. Louis going to tell you, we had him on ESPN. I love him. But he's going to tell you what he wants to tell you, not what the fighter actually said. And many, many funny days where I had my man Saul Avalar with me, who I did all the fight plans with and everything, and he worked with me at ESPN all those years. I have Saul next to me, and Louis would be finished interpreting a fighter. Nice, real nice interview, get finished, done. I turned to Saul, I said, did he say that? He goes, no, he didn't say any of that. No, he said the opposite. He said something else. So Louis the best. Louis is really the guy in the modern era who's responsible for bringing a lot of these Cuban champions here. And like a lot of them, they're in a communist country. Their way out is to fight. And you got a great team over there because they have that passion. They have that incentive. And they have that talent. And like a lot of them, Jorge Luis Gonzalez defected to the United States. By the way, he also beat Tyrell Biggs in the amateurs. He defected to the United States to come here to become a champion, right? To come here to get the things that you get in a free country, or to have a chance. To have a chance. That's all. to have a chance to do better for yourself, better for your family, to make not just money, but to achieve things, to have the opportunity, to have the life that you dream of, that you've seen maybe, if you were lucky enough to have a little black and white TV in a communist country, which you probably weren't. You probably weren't. But to see some of the things that are possible in this great place called the United States of America. And he comes over here, and as you just said, so many of them come over here, they hit these shores, bang, they go to work, they pick up where they left off. Now they go and they can really achieve things that they couldn't. They weren't allowed to get. They weren't allowed to go and make money and dream to have a house and a car and all those things, whatever else goes with it. And now they have that chance. And you saw the welterweights, you saw the lightweights, you saw the bantamweights, you saw them all win the world titles, but never a heavyweight that came here. Why? And it's a good question. I was asked to train Jorge Luis Gonzalez by Louis de Cubas, and he had a businessman involved. And I met them in a hotel. They asked me to come when they brought him over here after he defected. They asked me to go to a hotel to meet him with the hope that I would train him. I met him. I talked to him for a couple hours. Went over a lot of things with him. And I turned him down right there. And the reason I turned him down was we decided that he was going to fight a fight in 2 months. Somewhere, don't hold me to it, but 2 months, maybe it was only 6 weeks, whatever, it didn't matter. We had a fight that was scheduled. I'd start training him, and we'd be ready for this fight. It happened that this time was during the holidays. It was around Christmas. So we said, okay, they said, Teddy, when do you want him to start training? Well, I looked at the calendar. I looked at the date for the fight. I said, all right, let him take off Christmas. We're right there. We were a couple days before. We're going to start 2 days after Christmas. We're going to start and give us just enough time for me to be comfortable to get him ready for that first fight, to teach him what he has to learn, and to get him ready for that first fight. And all of a sudden, he says, through an interpreter, didn't speak English, he said, but he was, believe me, the way I talk, it's a universal language. I started making it pretty clear. And I said, what, you ready to train, right? You want to be a champion? After New Year's. What? I didn't hear that. I mean, I know it was little Cuban, it was a little Spanish, little English, but explain, say it again. I didn't hear that. No, I train after New Year's. Well, then you train with somebody else. He showed me right there that here's this guy comes over with all these amateur accolades, and he's got a chance to be all the things that he couldn't be there, even with his talent. He wasn't allowed to be that. And now he comes here, he's going, no, I gotta celebrate New Year. I gotta go out. Whatever he's gonna do. I'm not gonna say he's gonna party, whatever, but whatever. No.
South Beach, New Year's.
What? Yeah, nice. It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. You have a good time there, New Year's, South Beach. You're right, 100%. But not if you want to be the world champion. So I explained to Louis, I explained to this guy that was a business guy that Louis had there. I explained, no, you will show me right now. I know how much sound you have. We saw that already in your tapes and everything with your amateur experience. But you don't have the most important part. You don't have the desire to do what it's going to take to pull this off. And I explained to Louis, I said, I know why. He said, yeah, but the smaller guys, they never lack that. I said, yeah, but it's different with the mentality of a heavyweight. It's just different. They're spoiled. They're the guys. They're always, really, the heavyweight. Everyone gets excited when the heavyweight comes in the room. They're the guys. It's kind of like the spoiled kid in the family. Like, he gets everything. It happens. You got a family of 6 kids, and one was spoiled. He always gets everything. Oh, that guy. Bobby gets everything. He gets that. Yeah, and after a while, you get an attitude. You get an expectation. You get an air about you. The expectation for the heavyweights, the ones we're talking about here, that have come here, they hit the shore, they won their world title. Somebody's paying their bills. He's got more than he had there. 100%. He's eating better. He's got a better place to live in than he had over there in Castro's Cuba. Are you kidding me? And over there, they had a little better than most people because they were on the team. But it still wasn't anything in comparison to what you got here. So now they hit the shores. They got somebody's giving them a car. Oh, nice. But don't drink and drive on New Year's, please. I hope that none of that. Be careful. You got a car. You're eating better. You got a nice place, and all of a sudden, I don't have to miss New Year's. I can put that off. I could go out on New Year's. I don't have to train like I did over in Cuba. I'm here on the shores now. I made it already. I'm a heavyweight. They're gonna walk me right to the title. They're gonna walk me right to those golden gates. I'm big, I'm strong. I hit a guy, he goes away. I don't have to do all this. I don't have to listen to this crazy man who's telling me that if I'm gonna train you, you gotta miss New Year's. I don't have to do that. Because again, with the heavyweights, there's just an expectation. There's an air of just entitlement. Like they're entitled to be treated differently. I'm a heavyweight. Oh, these people are around me because they know I'm gonna make a lot of money. They know I'm gonna make a lot. So I'll do what I want to do. And they don't have that fire. They don't have the most important thing you need, that desperation that you had on that little island. That drive, that urgency to do whatever you gotta do to get there. No, I got there already. I'm here, look. I'm here, I got a car. Come on, you wanna go out? Come on, we'll go out, we'll go. That's the difference. And again, for the people out there that don't understand what I'm saying, the difference between the smaller guys that did go and win the world title, they don't come here with that attitude. They're not heavyweights. There's a difference. I hope I explained it to a degree that, because it's a great, it really is a great subject that you brought up. It really is. It's one of those enigma. It really is an enigma type subject that should be explained.